All right, guys, so last time we talked about how to find the slope of a line using 2 points. Now, the only way we did it in class was I gave you like a line, but the steps were basically to identify what your points were, plug them into the formula, and simplify. And slope is something that basically just tells you how steep your line is and in what direction it's going. So we're going to build on that a little bit today. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be finding the equation of a line. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 points, and the result of that will be that you're going to write an equation for that line. The benefit of that is if you know 2 points, you can turn it into an equation, and with that equation, you can create as many other points as you want to. That's also really helpful for like word problems. We're not going to be doing that, but like mathematicians sometimes will take facts and they'll turn it into an equation. They can use that equation to make predictions about things that they don't already know. And so that's why we like to make equations. But since this is all just Algebra 1 review, I'm not going to go too deep. I'm just going to hit the main points. And today we're just going to write some equations. So here's our steps. So today I'm going to be asking us to walk me through the steps. And as I do, this is the slide you're going to be looking at. So the first thing is what we did last time. You've got to find your slope first. Okay, so step 1 is to do what we did last class, find your slope. Right? After that, you're going to plug in 3 things. You're going to plug in your slope. You're going to plug in x1 and y1 and solve for b. Can you guys do me a favor though on your notes and scribble this b out? We're not plugging anything in for b. That's actually what we're trying to solve for. So you're going to plug in 3 things. You're going to plug in a y value, a slope, and an x. And at that point, we should be able to solve for b, which is the y-intercept. Once you know your y-intercept and your m, you could just put them here in the equation and you've got your equation. Okay? So that's our steps. Slope, solve for b, write your equation. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do example 2 here. So step 1, I'm going to ask you to read the step to me. So Alondra, what's the first step? So it's right on the sheet, the slide we just went over there. What's the first step? Now there's another set of steps there. It's called finding the equation of a line or something. Look for those ones. That's the one we're on right now. There you go. So we want to find our slope first. So let's write that out. Find the slope. Now at this point, I'm going to ask you to rely on your memory. So if I want to find the slope, Brianna, what's the first thing I need to do to find my slope? No, that's the second step. So I'm still on step 1 right now. This is actually stuff from last class. So to find our slope, like on your homework last night, what's the first thing that we do? We are going to use the formula. I'll write that down. But before we can use that formula, we've got to do something. So let me see if someone can help me out here. Kimura, what should we do before I can use my formula here? We do need to plug in the numbers. So now what's happening is we're working backwards here. You guys know we need to use the formula, and we need to plug numbers in. But before I could do either one of those, let me try one more card, and then I'm gonna try Denise after that. But what do I need before I could start plugging them in there, Alonzo? What do you think? Well, before you start plugging them in, you got to know what goes where. So how can we fix that, Denise? We should label them. You want to start by labeling them. So let's go ahead and call this one here x1. We'll call this one y1, x2, y2. Okay? So plug some stuff in now. So we know we want the formula. We know we want to plug things in, but to do that, we need to label things, okay? So go ahead and plug them in, and I'm going to call on you guys to help me fill in these blanks. Plug them in, and then... Check your answer there with a partner. We're going to go over it in just a second.
That's really interesting.
So Kevin, it looks like I'm all out, bud.
All right.
Go ahead and just write down the slide the way it looks, okay? All right. So Armani, would you help me plug numbers in here? What goes here?
-30.
And then here?
5.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but they put in 4 and 0.
Great. All right, any questions there? All right, from there I'm just going to go ahead and simplify it. So -3 take away 5. 4 take away 0. 4. So there's my slope, -2. All right, I got a -2 slope there. All right, now that's step 1 to finding the equation of a line. You've got to start by finding your slope. So step 1, find your slope. We just did that. All right, let's move on to step 2. So take a look at your steps for finding the equation of a line. And Jedrick, what does it say for step 2 on finding the equation of a line? A little louder for me? Yep. We're going to plug in M. We're going to plug in X1, and we're going to plug in Y1 to find out what B is. Can I erase this? We all good? So Kev, how long do you think we're going to stare? You should be paying attention. Be with us now. All right, 2. So we have y equals mx plus b. All right, I want to plug in y1, x1, and m. I'm going to put y1 here, x1 here, and in here, obviously. So I'll label these again. I'm going to do erase for space. Vidal, what is y1? Cool. Kimaya, what did we get for m on that last step? Kimaya, what did we get for m on that last step? Did you get a chance to write down the final answer? What did you write? You have confidence in yourself. That's good. -2. Look at you. All right. Let's be. All right. David, what goes right here? X1. No. So we want X1 here. So what am I going to put there? Try again? Yeah. 0. So there's x1, y1, and then m we got in the last step. All right. So let's solve for b. Let's do the multiplication first. Anything times 0 is 0. Now usually you'll have a number here that you have to like subtract on both sides or something like that, but 0 is kind of, you know, nothing. So, I mean, if you want to write this just to remind yourself to do that when you do yours, you can, but it doesn't really do anything. So B is 5. B is 5. All right, number 3, our third step. So we've done step 1. We found our slope. Step 2, we plugged in y1, m, and x1 to find b. Now we're on step 3. So take a look at your steps on how to find the equation of a line. Steve, what's the third step say?
Plug B and M into Y.
That's right. So we're going to take this equation, and we're going to plug in the two things that we found. We're going to plug in the m from step 1, and we're going to plug in the b from step 2, and that'll be our equation. So let's do that. Niana, what did we get for m? It was from step 1. What did we get for step 1? Did you get an answer for step 1? Lily, what did we get for our slope? Huh? Correct. Bueno. And how's about Miles? What did we get for B, our y-intercept? True. So there's our equation. 3-step process. There's a lot going on there. So step 1 is to find your slope. Step 2 is to find your B. Step 3 is to write your equation. All right. So let's see how y'all do with that. Should I bring that back? Is anybody still writing that? No, we're good. All right. So let's see how y'all do with one of these. Let's do it like one step at a time. So find your slopes. I'll give you guys like maybe 3 or 4 minutes for that. Find your slope. That's one of the longer steps. That's student practice 2. Find your slope. Take that. Oh, you know, it's the same paper we had last time. We're just finishing it. Oh, yeah. So we just finished example 2 and we're on student practice 2 now. guys don't have to wait for me. If you've got your slope and you want to move on to step 2, go ahead. But I will say you should be getting -4 for that first step. Your slope should be -4. So if you didn't get that, see what's going on with that sign. Looks good. You already got the next one. So subtract 36. You know what the answer is? Yes. Have to catch it. -36. Actually, let me see. So we're plugging in positive 9, right? This is going to be -36. So actually add the 36 at the end. So that'll be and it's helpful to write the points down. So if we move on to step 2, if you're ready for this, just don't forget to do it every night. This actually start by labeling and use that slope. I can write it for you. Okay. So here's your first step. You should be labeling these guys. Did you use that formula? Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. My Y1 is 3, X2 is 7, X1 is 9. And so we get 8 over -2, which is -4 when you reduce it and simplify. So move on to step 2. Write that out if you haven't done so already, and we'll do step 2. And some of you guys are like, like this is like, it's in the bag, this is no problem. Some of us are still kind of trying to grasp it. If you're getting this done and you're like, this is a breeze for you, feel free to crack open your homework for tonight, start working on it in advance, get it done. Don't put your homework off till the end, start working on it. You probably already know how to do every problem on there if you can do this one problem. So feel free to start the homework. But when I ask you guys to do a student practice, stop the homework and do it with us, because I might ask you to participate with us. And also make yourself available to your peers to help them out as they're working through this. That way I can get you some extra points and they can get the help. So we're working on step 2 now. So that's where you're going to plug in these numbers, X1 and Y1, and this number, That's M. You're going to plug those in and you're going to solve for B. Solve for B. You're plugging it into this now. Okay. Let me know if you guys need help with it. For your B, you should be getting 39, just so you guys know. So the Y is going on top. First, so Y is on the top. So remember the last year, so we just put the first one. So here's the Y is on the top. So you just get So once again, you should be getting a 39 for that B value. All right, so for our Y1, we plugged in, what are we plugging in for Y1?
3.
Mm-hmm. What are we plugging in for M? -4. What are we plugging in for X1?
9.
So that's these numbers here, basically, right? Now we're going to simplify. You do your multiplication first here. And then I had a few people get stuck here. We need to solve for B. So since this is a negative 36, how do I get rid of it? We add it to both sides. And we find out B is 39. Okay. So, that being the case, we're ready for step 3 here. Step 3 shouldn't take too long, but I'll give you about a minute for that one. Step 3, see if you guys can do step 3. Once again, if you're bored and you want to do homework, go ahead. Or you can offer some help to one of your buddies next to you. Make that work too. It's low, so the issue is, I think the slope is 5. You have 4. But other than that, I'd say and just don't forget that X after the slope. All right, so number 3, our equation is was it? What was my slope? I forget.
-4.
It was -4? And then plus 39. And that's the answer there. So you take your answer from step 1 and you put it next to the x. You take your answer from step 2 and you put it at the end, and there's your equation line. So we're finding our equation from 2 points, and there it is. All right, we're going to move on to another example. So if you're doing homework, I'd like you to stop doing that and participate with me here on this next one. We're going to move on to example 3. It's really the same thing, but we need to start by creating the points ourselves. Okay, so you know what I don't like about this one is I give you the points, but on your homework I don't think that it does. So let's look at one that doesn't give us the points instead. I'll make a new problem. That way it's more like your homework. All right, so how many points are on a line, you guys?
What do you mean?
There you go. There's an infinite number of points on a line, right? How many do we need to get an equation?
2.
We only need 2. So there's an infinite number of points, but we only need 2. But the trick, though, is you got to know what points to pick, because you know it has to be points where you can actually know what the numbers are. If you don't know what the numbers are, it's no good. All right. Before you write this, let me do something, and then I'm gonna hold off on that one for now. Let's do this one instead. But don't write it down yet, because I want to make sure you get something right here. We have to pick points that I can actually find the coordinates of. So, for instance, this is a good point right here. That's a good point because I know the coordinates for that point. I could see that that point is left 3 and up 2. Left 3, up 2. That's a good point to pick. I wouldn't want to pick this point because that's after 1, and I have no idea how far after 1 is it. What is that? Is that over 1.2, 1.3, 1.33? Who knows? We don't know. So you want to pick a point where you can actually get the number. In other words, you guys see these little black waffle things, right? The lines. Pick one where it crosses right on a cross point, right? Because those are the ones you get the coordinates for. So I think there's only one other one up here. Right here. Yeah. So on your homework, your job is to pick 2 points. You want to pick the 2. Sometimes there'll be more, but pick at least 2 that cross on these nice little points here and then give their coordinates. So this is 0, -2. So now that I've labeled these points, now go ahead and draw the picture. I'll wait for you.
Wait, we have to draw the graph?
Yeah, because we're not going to do example 3 on the notes. We're going to do this one instead. But the point was, I just want you guys to see how to find the points that you want to use. Sometimes there'll be multiple options. We should be drawing this graph right now, calling it example 3 in our notes. Example 3. Oh, you did? Okay. You're supposed to be drawing that graph up there on the board for example 3. We're going to get started here. All right. So let's begin. Sophia, my goal is I want to find the equation of the line. What do I do first?
y2 minus y1 over x2
That's right, we want to find our slope. And to do that, we need to do this. Which means I need to start plugging some numbers in there. But, Azalea, before I start plugging some numbers in, what do I need to do? So let me ask you this. How do we know where the numbers go? I've got 4 numbers. They're going to go in there, but how in the heck can I figure out which one goes where? What do I need to do first before I can start plugging in so I know? You want me to leave you alone? You could say pass. It's okay. If you guys aren't sure, just feel free to say pass. It's okay. And by the way, you do get points even for wrong answers. These are extra bonus participation points. You do get points even for wrong answers. If you pass, I don't get points, but it's okay. If you don't want to venture a guess, you don't have to. So, Kevin, what do I need to do before I can start plugging numbers in? The negatives? The negatives are going to come into play once we plug them in. This is where we got stuck last time, too. Let me try one more person, though. Shakir, what do I need to do before I can start plugging these numbers in? You want to label them. That way you know what goes where, right? So I'm going to call this x1, y1, x2, y2. Now we're ready to start plugging things in. So here we go. All right, so Jasmine. What goes here? True. Leah, what goes here? Great job, thank you. Denise, what will go here?
I'm sorry, my bad. 0.
Okay. And Amaya, what will go here? -3. Now, Kevin mentioned something about negatives, so we do want to watch out here with our negatives. Some interesting things are going to happen. So on the top, we have -4. On the bottom, these double negatives here make a positive, so that's 3. So I've got -4/3. Ooh. Okay. So when you have one like that, that's not fun because it's not a normal number, it's a fraction. I'll show you how to handle that. But let's go ahead and move on to step 2. So we have our slope. We just finished step 1 for finding the equation of a line. Aaliyah, what's the second step? Okay. No problem. Let's see if maybe... Shamani, what do we do after we find slope? What's the second step? Mm-hmm. We are going to use y equals mx plus b. That's true. Specifically, now what are we going to do with it? Okay. Well, we're going to plug in y1, m, and x1. So let's do that. What's y1? It's 2. What's m? It's a really ugly number. And x is -3.
Y1 is negative. Oh wait, no, I did the other one.
You use this one?
Yeah, I used that one.
You can use either point. You know, I put y1 and x1.
Yeah.
You can do x2, y2. That's fine. Right here? So originally we had this, but when you subtract a negative, that's like adding. So I just changed it to 4. All right, so now let's talk about this, because this is not fun. We have 2 equals negative 4 over 3. What was it? It was okay. So I'll show you guys how to handle the fraction situation here. So the first thing I would do is I would change this into a fraction. How can I write negative 3 as a fraction? Just put it over 1. Right? And then when you're multiplying fractions, the rule is you just multiply straight across. So you're going to do 4 times 3 and 3 times 1. So that's, yeah, negative 3. You're right. Oh, and actually this is a negative fraction too. So we have negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. 3 times 1 is 3. Now sometimes we have an issue where this won't go away, but it's going to go away this time, so we're kind of lucky right now. 12 can be divided by 3 evenly, so it makes 4. And now we have just a nice normal number. Okay? So that's how you handle the fractions, okay? Change the number that you plugged in into a fraction, multiply straight across, and reduce. So if you want to write those steps in, you can. Change to fraction, multiply across, and then reduce. Now, we got lucky here. Once I reduced, it became a normal number. May not always do that. Yeah.
Since it was 3 and the denominator was 3, and they were both negative, couldn't you just put 4? No, I know you're like just showing us the whole thing. I was just asking because I didn't want to get it wrong.
You can do that if you want to.
Okay.
That's totally fine. Yeah. Absolutely. The only reason I didn't show that is because it doesn't always work. You can't always do it. But you're right. You can do that if you want to. All right. So now we're ready to go ahead and solve this by subtracting 4 on both sides. And I end up getting b equals negative 2. 2 take away 4 is negative 2. So we have our equation. Step 3. Y equals negative 4 over 3x minus 2. Okay, so that'll be our example 3 in our notes today. All right. Yeah. So my original plan was to work on the study guide today and then do our test tomorrow, but because I wanted to spend an extra day on this lesson, I postponed it. So tomorrow we'll work on our study guide and our test will be on Wednesday, okay? So that's it. So you do have a homework assignment tonight. We have 5 minutes, so it's a good time to upload your notes now so you don't forget.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For number 1, what the point?
You can pick any 2 points you want to, but I would go with that guy and the one very top. Or you could go with that one at the very top.
So negative 2 and